Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Session 7. Woo! I hope everybody had a great lunch and is ready for some fantastic conversation today. I'm honored to be here among a room full of leaders who are shaping the future of social impact, philanthropy, sustainability, and equity. Everyone here has something in common. We share a calling to create a safe, just, and equitable world. But let's be honest, there has never been a more challenging time to be in this line of work. My name is Elle Arlook, and I lead the diversity, equity, and inclusion practice at a global consulting firm based in Washington, D.C. called APCO, and yes, I'm exhausted. I find myself in rooms all of the time, and sometimes even on stages like this with peers on couches exploring the same type of topics we've come to explore these past 2 days together, but I'm going to be honest and let you in on a secret. This is my first time standing on stage alone, just me, in front of all of you, hoping that I say something smart or remotely interesting. So if I make eye contact, give me a little head nod, maybe a little thumbs up, maybe you go girl from the back. And now that I have significantly lowered the bar, let's get into it. When we began exploring themes for this session, we thought about leading with purpose and the power of partnerships. I was intrigued about the intersection of these two things, leadership and partnership, and how they're intrinsically integrated when we think about making an impact. I want each of you to take a moment and pause and mentally visualize in whatever way works for you what a leader looks like, what characteristics they have. I bet many of you are thinking about words like bravery, boldness, confidence. Maybe you're even envisioning somebody with a cape flying behind them and a shield raised, ready to battle fire. Well, I've spent the last 135 days, but who's counting, with leaders at the highest level of their careers. CEOs of major consumer brands, chief diversity officers, chief communications officers, presidents of foundations, and leaders of impactful nonprofit organizations. And let me tell you, bravery, boldness, confidence, capes and shields is not how they would describe themselves in this moment, facing the headwinds that we're all facing today. What I'm seeing in these rooms is different. It's multifaceted. There's uncertainty and quiet resolve. There's exhaustion and determination, hunger for information and fear of making the wrong choice, impossibly challenging conflicts, yet clear lines in the sand. And over the past couple of months, there have been some really important things that I've observed and learned about leadership that I think are worth sharing with you today. First, leadership requires an enduring vision and a steady hand. Second, it shows up in the hard choices. And third, and maybe why we're all here today, no leader stands alone. The first observation feels simply, but it's incredibly challenging when navigating headwinds that are shaking the very foundation of our values and the strategies that we are all employing to build equitable worlds within our own organizations and the communities that we're trying to impact. I'm reminded of a moment a few weeks ago where I was in a virtual meeting with the CEO of a major consumer brand and 3 of their top company leaders from communications, legal, and government affairs. It was going to be a great call. I was ready. I had my slides, I had my scenario plan, I had my talking points and my notes. I was ready to lead this conversation. And at the top of the call, the CEO asked me to put it all aside. Put aside the agenda, put aside the notes, put aside the scenario planning. And he said, let's have a debate. Should we fly the flag for pride outside of our locations or not? Go. Whew. Now, I'm a consultant, and I've been in some sticky situations, but that was one I was not quite prepared for. It might seem like an odd anecdote to start a conversation about leadership with, but stay with me. We ended that call with the CEO saying, of course we're going to fly the flag. We always fly the flag. It's what we've always done. It's important to our people. It's important to our communities. And most importantly, we can afford to. We can carry that risk. We can do that because it's who we are and it's who we will always be. My job is to make sure that we can meet the short-term risks while making sure that we are keeping our ship steady for the long arc of history and who we want to be on the other side of that arc. I think that is, yes. In that moment, I gained an appreciation for vision. Vision isn't just boilerplate plain language. It's the North Star that cuts through the storm, lights the path to your organization's objectives, and helps you stay the course, especially when that course gets complicated. The second insight is one that I know all of us in this room feel deeply, and I've heard all of us mention over the course of our panel discussions and main stage discussions over the past 2 days. Leadership is showing up in the hard choices. It's easy to lead when the path is clear, when the work is celebrated, when there's momentum and movements and progress is not met with resistance. But true leadership lives in the hard choices, the moments when you're confronted with decisions that test your values and your resolve. For many organizations, these choices are about walking the fine line between staying true to your vision and making sure that you are able to adapt to ensure your survival. They're about deciding how to talk about your work in ways that reduce your visibility as a target while still upholding your purpose in your values and the mission of what makes you who you are. For example, there are nonprofits that have shifted how they frame their grant-making programs, not to depart from their mission, but to ensure their programs remain legally viable. Some have chosen to use broader, less polarizing language when describing their equity and diversity, equity, inclusion efforts, not because they're abandoning the cause, but because they know these adjustments are necessary to continue to serve their communities. These are not easy decisions. In fact, they require leaders to grapple with the tension between principle and pragmatism. And sometimes the hard choice is the opposite. It's to take a public stance, even if it means exposing your organization to criticism or threats. When you have the ability to take on that extra risk, like that CEO, it's understanding the responsibility that you have to take that risk on for the rest of us. The lesson here is this: hard choices are inevitable, but they are also where leadership is forged. Third, and perhaps most importantly, no true leader stands alone at the helm. Now, more than ever, we need to find both common and uncommon ground in the partners we surround ourselves with. The stakes are high. The funding pools are shrinking. The barriers to impact are rising around us, and entire industries that mean so much to all of us are being completely gutted. In this environment, strong partnerships are critical. They can deliver key insights, ensure that we have the strength of the collective information that we're all working with as we fight similar battles. It can increase the efficacy of our work. It has been encouraging to see the leaders that I work with lean into this with full force. Whether engaging with peers through formal and informal coalitions, building catching cabinets with diverse perspectives, or multiplying impact through collaborating across industries, leaders are not doing it alone. So here's my call to action for all of you here today. Look around the room and make a commitment not to leave without broadening your own bench of peers navigating similar issues. Find an organization whose work complements your own and creates opportunity for joint impact. Know that we're all working through this together, but that we must keep our eyes set on the long game. Look at the impossible choices that you're making every day, not with dejection or fear, but with clarity that this is the hard but necessary part of leadership that will move us all forward into the next iteration of what's next. Thank you.